elections. Stakeholders fault sole administrators' claim of restored peace. Civil Service Union clarifies extension of service in River State. Judiciary launches free ADR week to decongest Rivers courts. On the foreign scene, Israel threatens Hamas as Qatar hosts summit. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break. Welcome back. A River State High Court in Port Harcourt has struck out a suit filed by lawyer Williams Abayomi Stanley. The suit was against President Bola Tinubu, the Attorney General of the Federation, the River State Sole Administrator, the River State Independent Electoral Commission, RISIEC, and its chairman. It challenged the conduct of the recent local government elections in the state. Abayomi Stanley asked the court to declare the appointment of the Sole Administrator by President Tinubu illegal. He also questioned the appointment of the RISEC chairman and members by the sole administrator to conduct the August 30 local government elections. In his ruling, Justice Stephen Jumbo said the court did not have the power to hear the case. He explained that only the Supreme Court can handle such matters during an emergency rule. The judge also said the claimant failed to prove that he will suffer any harm if his questions were not answered. He noted that the lawyer was trying to protect the interest of the governor, even though he is not the governor. On the August 30 election, Justice Jumbo said the process was constitutional and legitimate. He explained that local government elections are conducted by RISIEC and not by the governor or the sole administrator. Lawyer to the claimant, Godsent Elewa, and said his clients will appeal the judgment.
I was in court when the judgment was delivered. I think the judge in his wisdom has given his judgment. I think I will consult with my clients to know the next line of action to take. The judge resolved two issues today, which were on jurisdiction. Firstly, the judge said my client lacked the local standard, that the only person who can challenge the appointment of chairman and members of RISEC, that power lies only with the executive governor of River State. The judge said that every matter pertaining to emergency can only be determined by the Supreme Court.
On the other hand, lawyer to the PDP, Monday John Otokwala, said the ruling reflects the true position of the law.
The judgment just delivered by my Lord, Honorable Justice DJ Stevens, represents the position of law with respect to the conduct of the local government elections in Rivers State. My Lord had looked at submissions from respective counsel and affidavits filed in support of the original summons, the counter affidavit of the first to fourth and even fifth defendants, and then has come to the conclusion that first, that the party who filed this action has not shown any sufficient interest in this suit.
And talking Rivers politics, as Rivers State prepares for the September 18 reinstatement of Governor Siminalayi Fubara and members of the State House of Assembly, public affairs analyst Opunaba Nkotaria has called for mutual respect between the governor and the lawmakers in the interests of the people. In an interview with our correspondent, Nkotaria said the governor should be allowed to perform his duties without undue interference.
The governor should be allowed to perform as a governor, and the assembly should be allowed to perform as a lawmaking body and also carry out the oversight function. Not unnecessary interference. People telling them what to do from the outside or from anywhere. They should perform effectively as assembly members, while he should also execute his duties as the governor of the state, without malice, without bias.
Inkotaria noted that the governor must also have the freedom to appoint persons he believes he can work with, while urging the assembly to confirm nominees based on merit rather than malice.
The governor should be allowed to appoint those he believes can work with him and also aid in the performance of his duties. So everything should be based on merit and not malice. Not because Mr. A supported the governor during the quiet match, therefore he is disqualified automatically. No, that shouldn't take place. Because in that case, then there is no peace. It's just managed conflict, not resolved conflict. If we talk of resolved conflict, the governor should be allowed to give him the free hand because Constitution already gave him that mandate to appoint his commissioners and all his aides.
In the meantime, stakeholders are faulting the state sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Iba's statement that peace was restored in Rivers during the 6 months of emergency rule. The spokesperson of the African Democratic Congress, Lucky Manegila, told correspondents to Ibiruari that the peace referred to by the sole administrator during the interdenominational church Thanksgiving service was nothing more than a political mandate from President Bola Tinubu to capture Rivers State ahead of the 2027 elections.
The aim of this whole state of emergency was to hijack the democratic structure of the state, to see how River State can be caged so that they can have their way come 2027, so that few people can sit somewhere and share the resources belonging to River State that is supposed to be used to develop River State. We are going to ask him to give a detailed account when the time is right.
On his part, a Port Harcourt-based analyst, Obiwan Akawa, described the sole administrator's claim as purely political and understood only by him.
There was no conflict. There was no war. It was just mere political skirmishes between political gladiators in the state. There was no preceding conditions for that declaration. So the restoration of peace, as claimed by the sole administrator, is something I'm still having difficulties understanding what actually it is, except if it has a very different meaning and interpretation as to what peace is than what most of us know.
Similarly, a constitutional lawyer in Port Harcourt, Dr. Innocent Ekwu, disagreed with the sole administrator's position, insisting that the peace he claims to have achieved does not reflect reality.
It cannot be correct that the sole administrator has created peace. What peace did he create? The truth is that the sole administrator and his principals only came here for a political interest. So that assertion cannot be correct. It is misleading. It is not a statement of truth and it is not a statement of fact. I seriously object to it, and there are several reasons why I object to it.
Meanwhile, the spokesperson of the Emeka Beke-led APC in River State, Darlington Wuju, said he expected the sole administrator to focus on more meaningful actions during the 6 months of emergency rule rather than merely talking about peace.
I think that this should have been a situation where there is a power sharing formula that would at least allow those who are supporting the governor to have a space in his administration. But as it powers that ordinarily should be domiciled has been castrated, as it were.
Still to come, fresh clarification on whether Governor Fubara approved a 5-year extension for Rivers civil servants. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The chairman of the River State Council of the Nigeria Civil Service Union, Chukwuka Osuma, has clarified that suspended River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara did not approve a 5-year extension of service for civil servants. Osuma's clarification follows reports suggesting that Governor Fubara granted the extension, but that it was not implemented by the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas. He spoke with correspondent Onyekachi Nwosu.
The issue of a 5 years extension was not done by the governor. It is a federal government approval. Normally it was 35 years. Now it is 40 years of service. The retirement age was 60 years. Now it is increased to 65 years. So which we pleaded with the governor to consider, because most states have also implemented it. But for Rivers State, before this unfortunate incident happened, the governor has not implemented it, though he promised he will implement.
Osuma expressed hope that Governor Fubara will consider approving the extension for state civil servants once he resumes office. Recall that President Bola Tinubu recently approved a 5-year extension of service for some cadres of civil servants at the federal level. Meanwhile, the River State Ministry of Education says a letter circulating online that it has authorized a proposed student enrollment fee of 35,000 naira and 38,000 naira to be paid to principals for various items by students is false. The permanent secretary of the ministry, Ndidi Uche, in a statement signed by the Director of Administration, Emmanuel Dapa, said the ministry did not give such a directive. Mrs. Uche also said the letter did not come from the Director, Secondary Education, Aluwa Adiela. She described the letter as the handiwork of mischief makers and called on principals to stop collecting such fees from students, as those caught will be made to face the consequences. She reiterated the ministry's commitment to implementing the free education policy of the state government. Now to reforms. As part of efforts to decongest the regular courts, the River State Multi-Door Courthouse has declared 1 week of free settlement using Alternative Dispute Resolution, ADR. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Director of the River State Multi-Door Courthouse, Victor Nweke, urged members of the public to take advantage of the opportunity, especially for commercial and family disputes.
Settlement week means a week set aside by the Chief Judge of Rivers State for specific courts to clear the backlog of cases through a mechanism which includes mandatory referrals to the RSMDs for possible resolution, and that includes arbitration, neutral evaluation, or any other procedure. Therefore, the focus of the settlement week is to assist the regular courts decongest their dockets by the application of appropriate alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to the cases suitable for ADR.
Nweke explained that the law establishing the multi-door courthouse gives it the power to carry out such functions. Nweke also disclosed that any case pending after the 1 week free settlement period will still be concluded under the same privilege.
I use this opportunity to call on the general public to embrace the application of ADR mechanisms in the resolution of their disputes, especially commercial and family disputes. This is because ADR saves time, reduces financial expenses, guarantees satisfactory justice because of the party-driven nature. It also guarantees privacy and confidentiality of parties in dispute. I encourage lawyers to include both their legal fees and appearance fees in their billing whenever they have a brief that is related to ADR.
In his remarks, the Chief Judge of River State and Chairman of the Governing Council, Justice Simeon Chibuzo Amadi, represented by Justice I.R. Minakiri, charged the arbitrators to remain neutral in the discharge of their duties.
And so first of all, I want to thank the neutrals who are here to perform this great task. It is a commitment. I know there must be neutrality and impartiality, because for somebody to decide, I'm not taking anything from you, but I want to see that peace is restored in a conflict situation, it means that that person has the heart of God.
And to crime news, the River State Police Command says operatives of the CP Strike Force in Port Harcourt have arrested a 48-year-old man, Emmanuel George, for allegedly defiling a 12-year-old girl around the Ada George area of Port Harcourt on September 6. Spokesperson for the command, SP Grace Iringekoko, in a statement said the victim had been sent on an errand by her aunt when the suspect dragged her into a stationary tricycle, popularly called Keke Napep. SP Iringekoko said the suspect allegedly tied the minor's hands, covered her mouth to stop her from raising an alarm, and forcefully had carnal knowledge of her before fleeing the scene. The statement said the suspect was arrested through coordinated intelligence, and during the interrogation, the suspect voluntarily confessed to the crime. She said the victim was taken to the hospital for medical treatment. And turning to drug-related issues, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in Rivers State has reacted to the incident at Tumpolu community, where some youths launched a campaign against drug abuse and allegedly assaulted a policeman. In an interview with correspondent Martha Okere, the NDLEA Assistant Commander of Narcotics, James Awoji, explained that the agency received a petition from the community concerning the drug campaign and advised the youths to gather more details to enable undercover operations that would lead to the arrest of those involved. He, however, said that before the agency could act, the youths went ahead to carry out their own arrest, an action that later trended on social media. He said the youths took the law into their own hands when they beat up a policeman. He said the NDLEA will not ask a civilian to effect any arrest.
It's like taking law into their hands. We are not in support of that. Fine. If you arrest and give to us, we'll accept and investigate. But we'll not ask you as a civilian to go and arrest. The risk involved is even more. But if we are the one that go ourselves, we know how we can do our job effectively for the purpose of a better prosecution, because a youth leader might not come to the court and say they want to testify against, but we officers, we do. So that is the challenge from Upolu community that was everywhere.
Awaji also said the NDLEA is partnering with communities across the states to help identify and expose drug dealers. To Health Matters, a psychiatrist, Dr. Chukwuma Okafor, is warning that low awareness of depression is putting more people at risk. Speaking to our correspondent, Ifechukwu Moyile, the consultant mental health physician at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, explains the depression signs that you need to watch out for.
The symptoms include undue sadness, that kind of sadness that people can't help themselves out of. There is lack of interest in previously enjoyed activities. For example, somebody who used to love watching football, all of a sudden the football does not give him joy anymore. They could also have sleep problems, poor sleep or sleeping too much, weight issues, increased weight or reduced weight, or lack of appetite or too much appetite. Other things that people could have excessive guilt, hopelessness, feeling of hopelessness, worthlessness, and helplessness.
Dr. Okafor explained that depression can be mild, moderate, or severe. It says mild cases may improve with social support, while moderate to severe cases often require therapy, medication, or both. He also notes that psychological, biological, and life challenges can all trigger depression. The psychiatrist is urging people to seek help, calling for more awareness and empathy. He cautions against labeling people with depression as weak, recalling the biblical King Saul as an example of a strong leader who also struggled with the condition. And on a lighter note, the Nigerian celebrity chef Hilda Bassi has officially set a new Guinness World Record for the largest serving of Nigerian-style jollof rice, with a staggering total weight of 8,780 kilograms. The feat was accompanied in partnership with a food brand in Lagos State and has now been formally recognized by Guinness World Records. The news continues after the break.
Port Harcourt, get ready. Something powerful
says he did not rule out further strikes on Hamas leaders wherever they are. He said this as the heads of Arab and Islamic states held a summit to show support for Qatar after Israel's attack on the Gulf state last week. The September 9 strike targeted leaders of the Palestinian militant group in Doha. Addressing the summit, Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani said the Israeli attack was cowardly and treacherous. He said Hamas leaders were studying a U.S. ceasefire proposal presented to them by Qatar and Egypt when the attack took place. On the news this evening, you heard Rivers State High Court has dismissed the case against President Tinubu and Risiek over the local government elections. Stakeholders have faulted the Rivers State Sole Administrator's claim of restored peace. The Civil Service Union says Governor Fubara did not extend service in Rivers State. The judiciary has launched a free ADR week to decongest Rivers courts. On the foreign scene, Israel has threatened Hamas as Qatar hosts summit. The news was edited by Martha Okere. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.